All right, let's jump right into this explainer and unpack what we're calling the ultimate 2026 modern sales playbook. We are drawing from some incredibly cutting-edge data today, and we're going to discover exactly how top performers are breaking through buyer skepticism and leaving all those outdated tactics in the dust. Get a load of this stat because it really sets the stage. 94% of buying decisions are made subconsciously, meaning they happen before the rational brain even bothers to engage. The source material reveals something huge here. If you're strictly targeting a prospect's logic right from the jump, you are completely missing the actual decision-making center of their mind. Which brings us to this foundational concept. People buy emotionally and justify logically. We've all heard variations of this, right? But think about it. If we can master emotional triggers, the logical justification for buying just becomes automatic. And look, this isn't about manipulation. It's simply about aligning your communication with how the human brain is literally hardwired to receive information. To equip ourselves with this neuroscience-driven approach, we're going to cover 5 pillars today: the death of old sales, building a hybrid outreach foundation, turning gatekeepers into allies, pulling psychological triggers, and finally, winning the voicemail game. Let's get into it. First up, Section 1, the death of old sales. Why are those old tactics failing so badly? Let's just validate a pain point we all feel. Selling right now is tougher than ever. Buyers are totally flooded with pitches, they've seen every trick in the book, and their walls of skepticism are sky high. Let's be real. If you're just aggressively dialing the phone and hoping for a connection, you are fighting a massive uphill battle. 72% of cold calls don't even reach a human being. The data shows that the average success rate for cold calling sits at a pretty brutal 2.3%. That means the average rep is grinding through over 200 dials just to book a single meeting. That is a surefire way to burn out by Tuesday. Single channel calling, it's practically dead.
And hey, when you do actually connect, a traditional feature pitch just triggers instant resistance. Why? Because of the brain's 3 systems. Those first 0 to 3 seconds target the reptilian brain. That's your fight, flight, or freeze response. Traditional pitches instantly trigger the flight defense. To win, you gotta bypass that. Connect with the limbic system for emotional evaluation in the next 30 seconds, and only then can you appeal to the neocortex for logical analysis.
So how do we warm up the brain before that call? That brings us to Section 2, the hybrid outreach foundation. We need to combine social and phone. Social media creates familiarity, sure, but it lacks urgency. The phone creates urgency, but without familiarity, it's just an annoying interruption. We absolutely need both. But wait, here's the hidden trap that ruins this for most teams: bad data. Before you sequence a single lead, you have got to verify your data. Bad data wastes over 500 hours per rep annually. According to the research, B2B data decays at over 22% every single year. You could have the greatest multi-touch campaign in the world, but if your emails are bouncing and you're dialing disconnected numbers, your cadence is literally just a highly structured way to waste time. Okay, assuming the data is clean, here is what a solid 10-day hybrid cadence looks like. Days 1 through 3, social warm-up. Engage with their content, send a non-pitch connection request. Just be a human. Days 4 through 6, send a brief email referencing that social touch. By the time you actually dial the phone on day 7, their brain already recognizes your name, and that little flicker of recognition, it drastically lowers their initial resistance. Which leads us perfectly into Section 3, allies, not gatekeepers. Let's talk about how to reframe that dynamic. Now that your prospect is warmed up, the very first human you often speak to is the gatekeeper. And man, this is a massive stumbling block for reps who are still using outdated tactics to try and bypass them. You have to completely flip your mindset here. The old way treats an executive assistant like a bouncer at a club that you have to trick or pressure. Do that, and you destroy your brand equity inside the account instantly. The new way? Recognize them as a strategic ally. They are curators of their executive's time. They are insiders who know exactly what actually matters to the company right now. So instead of demanding access, enlist them. Respect their role by name. Give a super brief business context, and then ask for their expert guidance. Say something like, "You know their priorities way better than I do. Is this an initiative they'd actually want to see?" Make it safe for them to say no. When you treat them like the expert they are, they stop blocking you and start pointing you in the exact right direction. Sometimes they even point you to a better stakeholder.
All right, Section 4, psychological triggers and objections. Once you do get through to the decision maker, it's game time. This is where you deploy advanced cognitive triggers and tap directly into that limbic system we talked about earlier. Now, these triggers, they aren't dirty manipulation. They are science-based communication principles. Take the authority gradient. Did you know that simply speaking 15% slower than your normal pace instantly signals confidence and authority? It's wild. Or the loss framing matrix. This works because loss aversion is actually 2.5 times more powerful than the desire for gain. People are way more motivated to avoid losing ground to a competitor than they are to gain some new efficiency. But look, even with all this, you'll still hear, "I'm not interested in the first 10 seconds. We all do. When that happens, remember, they are not rejecting your solution. They're just rejecting the interruption. This is known as the pattern interrupt defense. Their brain recognizes the familiar, annoying tone of a cold call and throws up a brick wall. To get past it, you have to break their mental script. Here is a slick 5-step framework to handle that exact reflex. You start with an empathy bridge. Validate them. Say, "I completely understand." Then interrupt the pattern with a highly specific observation about their company. Drop a quick value teaser about a similar competitor, and then hook their curiosity by saying the reason for the competitor's success might actually surprise them. It completely flips the vibe of the call from defensive right over to curious. And finally, Section 5, winning the voicemail game. What happens when they just don't answer at all? Too many reps just awkwardly hang up or leave some rambling, apologetic message that gets deleted in 2 seconds. Let's turn that missed call into a powerful channel. The data shows us an absolutely drastic difference here. A generic, "Hey, just checking in" pitch gets a measly 1 to 2% callback. But a structured trigger voicemail, one that mentions a specific hiring spike or a competitor's win, that pulls a massive 10% callback rate. And a breakup voicemail on day 11 utilizing loss aversion, that can hit 20%. It's all about providing concrete, specific value instead of just asking for a vague chat. The absolute golden rule for voicemails: keep it under 30 seconds. Anything over 12 seconds usually gets deleted anyway. Drop your tone and slow your pace. State who you are, give a punchy 10-second hook, make a simple ask with 0 sales buzzwords, and crucially, leave your phone number twice very slowly. Oh, and literally smile while you record it. I promise you, it completely changes the resonance of your voice. Want a real cheat code? It's called the multiplier effect. Always pair your dial 1 or dial 3 voicemail with a super brief email about 15 minutes later. This bumps overall response rates up to between 10 and 15%. The email simply says, "Hey, just left you a voicemail, here is the short version." Half the time, they see the email before they even check the voicemail, and that dual touch creates a really powerful sense of familiarity and persistence. So thanks for hanging out with me on this explainer. The days of brute force logical feature pitching are long gone. By understanding the neuroscience of trust, running smart multi-touch campaigns, aligning with those gatekeepers, and mastering the psychology behind objections and voicemails, you can naturally guide prospects to realize they need your solution all on their own. So looking at your pipeline right now, you really got to ask yourself, are you going to keep relying on those outdated tactics, or are you ready to adopt a neuroscience-backed playbook and let the buyers persuade themselves?